Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome back. Happy New Year to everyone. It's nice to see everybody back. Hopefully everyone had a great break. This is our first CPIC meeting for 2025. It is Monday, January the 13th. We have a birthday in the house tonight, so happy birthday to Superintendent Denolfo. Thanks for celebrating with us tonight. Just a reminder to everyone that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the CPIC portion of the board website. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Labby for our land acknowledgement and then to Jackie for our opening prayer.
Good evening, everyone. Our land acknowledgement. Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations, the Métis, from the lands of the Anishinaabe to the Atawandaron, through the Nisani and the Métis. These lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, our Catholic social teachings call us in solidarity with our indigenous brothers and sisters to honor and respect the four directions, lands, borders, plants, animals, and ancestors that walked before us. All these wonderful elements of creation exist, gifted to us by our Creator, God. We acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the New Credit, First Nations, for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Thank you. Let's start with the sign of our faith in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Lord, we look toward you, our hope, our peace, and our comfort in this new year. Heavenly Father, as we stand on the threshold of a new year, we want to express our deepest gratitude for the past year's blessings. Thank you for your faithfulness, your love, and your constant presence in our lives. We acknowledge your sovereignty over the days gone by and the days yet to come. As we gather for this meeting, we acknowledge your presence with us and seek your guidance, wisdom, and understanding in discussing important matters. May your peace reign in our hearts, bring healing and reconciliation where there's division. Shine your light in us, through us, and over us. We ask for your grace to cover our lives this day and every day moving forward. Grant us the clarity of thought and open our hearts to listen to one another with respect and empathy, working to acknowledge and deliver your will. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Labby and Jackie. Okay, moving right along. Agenda item 2.1, approval of our agenda. So everyone received the agenda via email. Do we have any additions or revisions to the agenda that anybody would like to make at this time? Okay, seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Emily and Ada, thank you. Okay, and item 2.2.1 is approval of our minutes from our November 11th meeting. So those were also emailed to everyone in advance. So at this time, are there any additions or revisions needed to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder for approval of the minutes? Angelo and Janelle, thank you so much. Okay, moving right along, agenda item 3.1 is our board update. Over to you, Superintendent Denolfo.
Thank you, Janelle. Welcome back. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone had a great Christmas break together with your family. For the superintendent report, under our pillar Achieving, elementary schools, teachers are preparing Term 1 report cards. The PA day on January 27th is for teachers in our DECEs to do reporting, and Term 1 reports will be going out staggered between February 12th and 14th. With some schools, in addition to the electronic report card, they will also send some paper copies. But every school is a little bit unique on how they have moved through the distribution of report cards with their community. Teachers are completing summative assessments in reading, writing, and mathematics. Kindergarten to grade 2 students who are below the benchmark on the provincial literacy assessments may be receiving some more intense instructions from their classroom teacher or through the itinerant reading teacher assigned to the school. If a child is receiving this intervention, the school would be in communication with the parents of the child. The level of the reading assessment for each child in kindergarten to grade 2 will be communicated on the Term 1 report card. Term 2 for elementary will begin on February 4th. In our secondary schools, their first semester will come to an end on January 22nd, with exams beginning on January 23rd to the 29th. Exam review day will be on January 30th, and semester 2 will begin on February. Students right now are completing culminating activities as the semester comes to an end. Under the Believing pillar, as a system, Monsignor Khan presented to the Board of Trustees on December 17th that Pope Francis has declared 2025 to be the Jubilee year for the entire Church and the world. The theme of the Jubilee 25 is Pilgrims of Hope. In our world suffering from the impacts of war, the ongoing effects of COVID-19, the climate crisis, economic hardships, and countless addictions of mind, body, and spirit, Pope Francis is inviting us to rekindle the hope which is rooted in our faith. St. Andrew's Church is the Halton Deanery Church. It has a replica door for the Jubilee Year of Hope at the front of the church. The church will be open every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for people to visit. On December 29th at 9:30 a.m. Mass, a family from St. Vincent's School carried in our pilgrimage cross into the church. The Mass is available on the church websites and has had a significant impact on the congregation to welcome this cross and sign of hope into the church, led by one of our HCDSB families. The cross moved to St. Nicholas School last Monday, and today will be traveling to St. Dominic's School. Throughout the year, the cross traveled to all our schools with a similar replica door and a journal for each school to document the cross pilgrimage and their journey with the Jubilee Year of Hope. A committee of educators led by Principal Vince Monaco and teacher Lori Dover have planned out a variety of resources and activities that will be shared to all the schools tomorrow. Under the Belonging pillar, registration for the 25-26 school year has been open since the beginning of November. New families can register at any time online and are welcome into our schools to verify their documents. We currently have 1,952 new registrations. For kindergarten, we have 756 at this time, and we will continue with our end of January dates where parents who may not be able to do the electronic registration could go into schools and do the registration with the support of staff, and parents can bring in their documents if they have to verify them with the school admin team. Our K open houses that happened in the fall were well attended in all regions, and families will receive follow-up communication, I believe it went out today, about the upcoming Ready, Set, Go sessions for all the families who attended the open houses or have registered their children for kindergarten for September. Each school will have a kindergarten orientation session at their own school in April once students are registered. For new grade 9 registrations, we currently have 1,143 students from other boards. So it could be from Halton District, from private programs, or neighboring boards where families have moved into Halton. We take on the most students in grade 9, okay? Which is wonderful, and it means our schools are doing great things to attract all these new students. Our grade 8 students in our current schools have submitted their option sheets through My Blueprint for September 2025, and our grade 9 to 11 students will be completing their option sheets over the next 6 weeks. All our e-learning courses will be documented on the option sheets for this year. So if you have children going into grade 9 to 12, when you see the course selections, every course that we offer through e-learning will be right beside. So for example, English, grade 9 English, and grade 9 English offered in e-learning will be posted right so the students can select which one they want, okay? I wanted to follow up on the Power School cyber incident that parents were communicated last week and again today. You may have seen reports in the media about the cyber incident involving the Power School student information system. All parents and staff have received 2 communications from our board so far. The most recent communication was sent this afternoon. Unfortunately, Power School has confirmed that HCDSB is one of the school boards affected by this incident. Power School has assured us that the incident is contained and the unauthorized data has been deleted. According to Power School, the data assessed primarily includes student names and parent contact information, but our IT and privacy manager are working closely with Power School trying to assess exactly what specific information may have been accessed. There's a statement posted on our board website, and further updates about this matter will be posted there as well. Under the Becoming pillar, January 27th marks the United Nations Holocaust Awareness Day. Schools have received a number of materials to help commemorate this day, including sample liturgies and learning resources. In our elementary school, grade 8 teachers will deliver a lesson on the Holocaust as part of the Religion and Language Arts program. In our secondary schools, teachers will deliver a lesson on the Holocaust during period 1 or 2. Coming up in February is Black History Month. A variety of resources have been shared with all our schools celebrating Black excellence in our schools and will be highlighted in February during Black History Month. Our e-learning courses, as Superintendent Del Sordo had presented, I think it was last spring to CPIC, about the e-learning courses that we are offering and the uptake of students actually enrolling in our courses. So for semester 2, we have 1,038 seats taken by Halton Catholic students in the Ontario learning courses, e-learning courses. 784 seats are taken by our HCDSB students, and we have HCDSB students who are taking courses offered by other boards. So we are only offering 40 courses at this time. So if there's students who wanted to take a course through e-learning, but we don't offer it, they go into PRISM, which has courses across the province, and they may go into those courses so that it filled whatever requirement they needed for graduation. So we have 344 students in other boards' courses, and we currently have 70 students who are on a wait list. So once semester 2 starts, some students may drop, new teachers might be added, so we'll hopefully get all those students into the courses they wanted. So we are running 40 sections, and the class averages, so our e-learning courses can have up to 30 students in them. Our class averages at this time are 28.5, and our smallest courses in e-learning are at 23. If there's any questions.
Lauren, go ahead.
Yep, I've got two actually. Just one on registrations. How does it compare to last year's numbers?
I haven't actually gone back to look at where we were last year at this time. I will bring that to the February meeting. Right now, I've been just every week sort of, is it up, is it up, is it up? And so it keeps going up, but I haven't compared it yet.
Cool. That was just out of my own curiosity because I know enrollment's been a thing kind of
what
everywhere.
I would say is secondary is up. For sure, secondary is up. It's where we are at with kindergarten. That takes a little bit longer to keep going.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the other one on the Power School incident. Okay, I appreciate first you won't have the answer to this, so you'll probably have to ask it. But just, I know you said that they're working out what was accessed. If they determine that something was actually accessed, are they going to do any kind of monitoring to check what gets leaked publicly or dark web or any of that kind of stuff? Like, I'm definitely interested in that part of it. Like, if they determine that, yes, somebody did access the information and they've actually taken a copy of it, it's one thing for then Power to School to say like, yeah, okay, cool, we deleted what was accessed, but that doesn't help if they've taken a copy and distributed. So I'm curious about the monitoring that follows in the coming weeks.
I will bring the information back either through you, Lauren, to bring back to CPIC or at the February meeting. But all communication, the board will be completely transparent. They're working together with Power School about everything that happened to understand what was the breach for Halton Catholic, because what the breach, it was numerous school boards across the province and across the country. So they need to understand what it was for Halton Catholic, because that's what's different.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because they might determine it's not anything that needs monitoring, but if it is, if it's anything that, you know, falls in that category of personal information, then I would be curious to know what monitoring is being done.
Just to extend on that, I mean, this was obviously came up in the news, and in the news anyway, they said it was PII, personally identifiable information, did get out. So I know in past instances with other organizations where that's happened, the organization that's responsible, in this case Power School, would put in place for those affected monitoring services paid for by them through TransUnion or whatever other, you know, credit issuing agency. So I would also ask that if it is identified, will, you know, individual families be granted that monitoring service?
That has been confirmed. Power School will be doing that.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Sorry, hi Nancy. Back to the number of new students registered. Can you give us a breakdown on where? Like, does Milton have the highest? Oakville, Burlington? Could you provide more detail around that?
I have just the overall number. What I can share, I'll give comparison to like last year, what we took in, because then you can see that number. I was actually looking at that just for my enrollment count. So in terms of new registrations, I have it by municipality. So Burlington took 90 new registrations. That was outside of our elementary schools into our high schools. Halton Hills, 142. Milton took in 647 new students last year. Okay. I'm sure the majority of the number, even though like it might be aligned to this, it's a lot coming from Milton just because that's the biggest growth area, but they're also choosing to come to our Catholic schools in Milton. And Oakville's the other one, 300 new registrations from outside of Halton Catholic. Okay, so last year we brought in 1,218. So I know majority of that number I shared with you is Milton. I will get as much of that number back to you.
Okay, because I know a lot of the high schools, BR and Santa Fe are quite at capacity. So yeah.
What's happened in Milton, and we did this amendment last year. So Bishop Redding had the AP program, okay? And so many students in Milton were choosing for the AP program to go to Bishop Redding. We opened the AP program at St. Kateri last year. So what ended up happening is if you want AP and you live in the Bishop Redding area, you go to Bishop Redding. Except if you're AP French immersion, it's at Kateri. Extended French is at Bishop Redding. So now that we have two high schools in Milton, it'll sort of even those numbers out, and that's what it did last year. Okay. St. Francis Xavier. So St. Francis Xavier had about 454 grade 9 students. Kateri had just over 500, and Bishop Redding just had over 400. So we've got a little bit of balance. We just don't know what's coming in for grade 9 this year because of all these students who are coming from the public system or the private system into our high schools.
Awesome. Thank you. It's a lot. Yeah.
Any other questions for Nancy at this time? No? Okay. Thank you, Nancy. Agenda item number 4 is our trustee update. So over to you, Trustee Duarte.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome back. Since the last CPIC meeting on November 9th, we have had 3 board meetings, one on November 19th, December 3rd, and December 17th. At the November 19th board meeting, the elections of the chair and vice chair of the board were held. I was acclaimed as chair, and Trustee Murphy was elected as vice chair for 2025. There was a presentation from staff on the early literacy screening program, which is implemented at HCDSB at that meeting. And there was an action item to request the Ministry of Education for a financial and management audit. This would require the chair of the board to write a letter to the Minister of Education requesting a financial and management audit to be commenced by the ministry at HCDSB before the completion of the next budget cycle, and that motion passed. There was a staff report on 2024 International Student Program recruitment trips overseas, and a report and a detailed breakdown of cost involved was provided at that board meeting. At the December 3rd board meeting, this is the best meeting of the year that we have. Keeping Christ in the Christmas contest, students brought to the board. They come to the board and they present their works of art. It's the best board meeting of the year. And we received a lot of artwork from students. And students came and presented. We have wonderful talent at HCDSB. Very proud to see our students here. At that same board meeting, we had the action item 2023-24 draft audited consolidated financial statements were presented at that meeting, which passed. And at the December 17th board meeting, senior staff updates on the Jubilee 2025 celebrations throughout the year at HCDSB were presented, and the inaugural Mass was at St. Andrew's Church in Oakville. And I was very proud to have been able to attend that during the Christmas holidays. great things happening there in our system. At that same meeting, we had an action item. The revised budget estimates were presented at that meeting, and we are in surplus, and that got approved. In other items, trustees will attend the OCST seminar in Toronto this coming weekend. Trustees will attend school visits. Trustee professional development will continue for this year. And board meetings will be held once a month starting Jan. And that's my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Trustee Duarte at this time?
Yeah, I've got one. Sorry, Marvin, not something you covered, but just with the publication of the Fraser Institute school rankings about a week ago, I'm just curious, does the board spend any time looking at that just to see where Halton Catholic schools stack up versus our peers?
I think that I would want to answer to question to either Director Klein or Superintendent. That's a very good question here, and I think it does attract students based on the rating. Superintendent Dinolfo or Director Klein?
What I can share with you, we don't spend a lot of time looking at that and comparing our schools. The schools themselves look at that ranking just to see how they're faring, because there's certain things for the criteria of the Fraser Institute that takes into consideration, right? And it's not just about its socioeconomic status, the makeup of the community, then against how they do in EQAO results, right? How they actually categorize that. It's not something we look at ourselves and say, oh, look at this school compared to that, because we don't compare our schools. Each school is considered are unique. We have the benchmarks that the Ministry of Education has set in terms of our achievement, and we focus on those individual schools. So for example, we have a math plan. The schools that have been identified is based on needs, but we don't look at them and compare them to each other. Okay, so that's what, if I can say anything. How I say these numbers do come out is, for example, international students who are looking to come to our board or looking to come to Halton, that is who's looking at the rankings of our schools. Okay, so that's who's looking at those numbers.
And I would say even domestically, like families look at it, right?
And they will, right? And that's good. But again, that's a choice a family makes to buy a house in a certain area, and if that's their choice, right? But it's not something that we as a board put a lot of emphasis on that ranking to determine what we're doing in our schools. All of our schools have the same attention from the board, right? Because we are going to give the best education at all our schools, not based on that ranking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, like in any industry, and education, I guess you could argue is an industry, you generally look at the competition. You look at your peer group and see how do you stack up on different criteria. I mean, this is one measure, and again, it encapsulates a number of other measures there, as you mentioned. But if you're comparing, like for like in the same, community, within a couple kilometers of each other, and one school is at rank number 7, the other one's 77. OT and STA in that case. And again, not to drill down to specific schools, but just as a peer group, if we see, Halton Public, how many they have in the top 20 versus how many we have, is that not worth looking at? Like to say, like, and again, it's in the strategic plan, but to say, like, want to attract, more students both from abroad and domestically. Is it not important enough?
Well, what I could say to you for secondary, we're attracting a lot more to our secondary schools. Halton District is losing, right? And that's not based on a ranking. That's because of the good work that we're doing in our schools, and it's known. I don't believe it's about that. I do know our high schools are up there, but I do think there's some of the Halton District schools that are higher than some of our schools. I don't think that will sway what our commitment is to every school to delivering the best programming.
Good. Right? I mean, at the very least, it's a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Not dwell on. Okay.
Director Klein, did you want to add to that?
Sure. I think it's a natural attraction of all of us to, when we have ratings or rankings, to go to that, whether it's a click on a website or a magazine to say, what are the top 10 of whatever, cars or you name it, or products. It's interesting to note too that the Ministry of Education places zero value in terms of the Fraser report to. So in our business, the Ministry of Education obviously has a big sway in terms of how you set your goals and move forward. They would even caution us in terms of EQAO. And EQAO, you would argue, more in the ballpark, and EQAO is a measurement of the curricula. They're not, it's not a standardized test, as we try and repeat over and over again. It's a test of the curricula at those certain milestones. And even then, we're cautioned about, not necessarily using those as comparators. And I would only echo what Nancy and others have said in the sense of people voting with their feet. I think we know how we're stacking up, particularly in high schools with other boards.
Thanks. Any other questions for Trustee Duarte before we move on?
Sorry, I don't know if I can ask specific questions about specific schools. What would you ever do? I can do it after. I can do it after. That's fine.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Duarte. Moving on to our standing agenda items. Denise has just walked in, so we'll give her a little bit of time to get settled. So we'll just rejig this for a minute. So we'll move on to our CPIC subcommittees, and we'll come back to you, Denise. 5.2.1 is bylaw. So that's Jerry and Barb.
Not a whole lot to report right now. I know you'd reached out over the holidays about discussing the election process. That was part of the bylaws. I know we didn't actually end up getting together, so perhaps that'll be something that's forthcoming. Pardon me? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, nothing further. I mean, yeah, we still have to get together and go through the feedback that we have received. So further update next time.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay. Parent and Community Engagement Subcommittee.
Okay. For the pathway session, I think that's the only thing that we need confirmation on for February. And we'll get that hopefully shortly. We had a really great conversation with the human trafficking. We spoke to the Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking. And as we discussed at a previous meeting, Halton being where it is between the 401, the QE, the 403 is a huge, huge risk for trafficking. So it's something that we kind of want to bring to our parents. We've set up for March 26th at 7 p.m. We have the option of either having them come in person or do virtually. She did say that in person you get more engagement. The session will be 45 minutes to an hour, and we've spoken to St. Kateria, which I'll speak to Marvin about after, to make sure they'll be ready in time so that we can have our session there, because they can accommodate up to about 600 people in the cafeteria. So they're good to go in terms of hosting it there if we have it in person. And we can also record the session, so we have it on file. We can replay it, whatnot, whatever we have, so we don't have to necessarily do the in-person session again. I know Nancy's looking into. They don't have a speaker fee. What they do ask is if we're able to make a donation, but there's sort of a few parameters with that, because we want to make sure it goes to the center. It's not really specific to the person, so we're kind of working around those pieces, and we're looking into that. We're looking at the logistics. What they did recommend was a series, so build up to the session that we have on March 26th. For example, February 22nd is the National Awareness to End Trafficking. So if on the 22nd, for example, we have a post on social media, and we sort of start that way, and then we kind of put a little bit of facts and a hotline, and then we build up to the 26th session, because we want to be very specific about what we're speaking to on the 26th. We have an option for a secondary speaker as well, because we usually do an hour-and-a-half session. The one thing is, I don't know if anybody listened to it, but there was a documentary on Dark Highway that was done previously, and I think some of our parents have seen it. And the actual, one of the people in that documentary is actually from Oakville, and she was a student of the system, and she speaks to it, and it's about 15, 20 minutes. So if we do pursue that, and we'll look into it as a committee, but if we pursue that, our donation amount, for example, we can give her a speaker fee, and they're okay with that piece of it. So, and she's a survivor, and just a lot of interesting pieces that come about. And they'll provide us a name, so we'll follow up. But like the presentation from the center itself is sort of a high level a presentation. They'll talk about national stats, trafficking hotlines, policies, local services, how to recognize and escalation options, support for family and friends, which there seems to be a gap there, who often does the reporting, frequency. They talk about, what to look for. For example, like it's always somebody they'll approach the gender-based pieces. They look at underage marriage, they look at labor trafficking, and of course, from a gender preference, it's usually females that they prefer. So they'll address every single piece. What they did say is students can attend, preferably students 10 to 12 years old and up. Younger students obviously will not understand the context, and nothing graphic is in their presentation. It's mostly stats related. But they do recommend both elementary and high school. By the time you get to the high school level, it's already too late, usually if something's happening. So they want to make sure you get your elementary parents in there. And they'll speak to different resources such as One Child, Bridge Norm, Victim Services, Savvis of Halton, and Halton Anti-Trafficking Collaborative, which I didn't even know that existed until I spoke to her. So it's just a really great conversation to have with our parents. And I think a conversation that we haven't had before, and something that we need to open the door to. We just need to be very mindful of how we sort of set it up. We don't want to come out of the blue and start a conversation about human trafficking, but we do want to sort of say, here's some stats, here's the information, and then set up the session. So that's where we are for that specific one, and that's March 26th at 7. So, questions?
So is that secured, Nancy? Like with
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have we're okay with the speakers, okay with the 26th at 7, but we still have to confirm our end of it. But yeah, so there's all the pieces.
Jackie, is Secretary available? Did you check?
Oh yeah, I haven't. Yeah, Kevin sent me a message back and said, absolutely, we'll be ready. But Marvin, if it's not ready, I'm going to come and ask you to give me another school altogether for 600.
No, and that we can accommodate that. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Just because I was worried about Kevin having chairs. Like, because it's a new school, they have everything that they need to host an event?
Yeah, so he said he would, definitely by then. And I think the next day we have parent, so he's got a week of, the next day he's got parent interviews, and the following he's got the blessing. So I think he's got a whole week of events that he's like, at this point, I'm just going to run with it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jackie. Okay, next up is School Council Support Committee, which is myself, Angelo, and Emily. So I guess I can start. We have a Let's Connect happening this week on Thursday, the 16th at 7:30. It is virtual. So Andrea has sent out the invite with the meeting link. We've asked CPIC members in our Family of Schools chats to post it in there as a reminder. There will be a reminder also going out. And it's also on socials, I believe, and a reminder going out tomorrow. So hopefully we get good attendance. We switched up the time to from 7 to 7:30. Just playing around, we noticed at our last session, we didn't have a lot of people on until about 7:30, and then it seemed to kind of pick up. So just wondering if that's maybe the optimal time for parents. So we'll try it out this time and see how it goes. So that is happening. Anything else, guys, from our perspective? I think that's it right now. Okay. Next up, social media.
Not a ton to report on this one. Becca did an amazing job of posting a series of Advent-related posts through December. She made all of those. Herself. That was all her. I take zero credit. So she did an awesome job on those. That's kind of was the main stuff that we posted. I'm going to post Let's Connect tomorrow. I don't have too much else to post. I will definitely happy to support if they want a series of social media posts leading up to that. That's more than happy to do that. If they have a particular post they want, like just if they give us this, like says like here, just post this, I'm happy to do that. If they want me to make something, I'm happy to do that. Whatever is needed is fine. And that's about it for socials.
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, we'll circle back to Denise for our OAPC update.
Thank you. So just as a recap for OAPC in December, on December 11th, OAPC had basically in all regions where our Halton parents could join as well a Advent retreat that was led by the bishop that sits on our OAPC board of directors, which is Bishop Mathieu from Ottawa. So he led that particular event, which is our kickoff to the Jubilee, and OAPSI will be building on that. I believe in our next Halton Regional meeting, which will be virtual. It isn't set yet for the date, but we're working on it. So I'm expecting that to come within the next month in terms of February, where that will go out to parents in our region for attendance. I have a board of directors meeting at the end of this month. And in that meeting, we will be discussing the conference for this year. So we're in the midst of planning conferences, looking at themes, where this conference is going to be held. So the location is yet to be determined in terms of school, but that information will go out as soon as possible. And again, as always, I encourage you to look at the resources on the OAPSI website, especially the Parent for Parent Press, the newsletter, which contains a lot of information in terms of parent resources and things like that. That's it for my update.
Thank you, Denise. Any questions for Denise? No? Okay. All right, moving on to agenda item 5.3, which is our CPIC representation on board committees. So first up is bullying prevention and intervention.
Our next meeting is at the end of January, so I'll bring something to the February meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, focus on faith, which is myself and Emily, and that meeting is set for February 11th. So we'll have an update hopefully in February for you. Next up, Journey with Jesus. Anything yet? Nothing? Okay. Mental health. No update at this time? Okay. Regional arts program? Nothing. Paused, correct. Okay. School year calendar, that was myself. So our committee met December 3rd and January 8th. The draft agenda, I believe, was presented by Nancy to senior admin on Monday, correct? Today? Next steps is Nancy will bring it as an information report to the January 21st board meeting and then as an action item to the February board meeting. It then goes to as a community email just for information out so that parents are aware of the planned dates for the school year, and then it gets submitted to the ministry for final approval. So that's where we're at with the school calendar for the following year. Okay, I think that's it for board committees. So moving on to agenda item 6, which is discussion items. So first up is 6.1, which is our Council of Chairs meeting, which is coming up on February the 19th. Andrea, do we have a draft agenda for that? Yes? No? Okay, so Nancy, Lauren, and I met, and Andrea, regarding the agenda. Help me out, guys. We talked about having 2 different presentations with an activity in the middle, correct? So did we... Turn your mic on, Nancy.
We're thinking of Halton Food for Thought.
Right.
The foundation, the Children's Foundation, so that we can give the information to the council chairs. Then we were thinking of the vaping presentation by Vice Principal. So he does a similar presentation that Wojtek Kivicki had done on cell phone use. He was doing it on vaping. We were not sure though if we can do 3 or should we do 2. That's
Yeah.
where we left it.
Yeah, because it's coming back to me now that you're talking about it. Did we not talk about maybe tabling that 3rd piece? And then you mentioned someone, and her name escapes me, so I apologize, about having someone come in and link the 2 pieces with Halton Food for Thought and HCCF in terms of how it was about language and how to give us language as staff and as parents and council members in terms of how to talk about families in need and how to make them more comfortable in coming forward. Is that not where we landed on that piece?
That's right. The child consumption. I'll be honest with you. We talked about it.
I know, we talked about it a long time ago.
We talked about it and I forgot what we had talked about. Okay, so that's the piece I need to do to bridge that. So I will go back to her. And so we will only do the 2. So the foundation and Halton Food for Thought, and we won't do the vaping one.
Yeah, I think we're going to table that one.
Okay.
I think we talked about maybe a future date for that.
Yeah.
And an activity, right? something that we could, because this session will be, this council of chairs will only be parents, right? Council members. So some sort of activity, and I'm looking at you, Emily. um, so I don't know if anybody has any suggestions around what sort of activity we could do. We can sort of talk about this offline, but the whole idea is, you know, food for thought. Halton Food for Thought is about helping those kids that need food at school, and then the foundation. So I think those two presentations go really well together. I'm just trying to think of some sort of activity that might sort of lend itself. I have a couple ideas, but I'm not sure. So we can talk about that and maybe bring it back to this group. But Nancy, do we have both those agencies scheduled for that date? Are they confirmed? Okay, perfect.
What I would just say, Emily, for an activity, the whole goal of what we want to do is share the foundation and the Halton Food Pot, so parents actually realize these resources are available, but it's happening. But we always have food at the council chairs. We don't ever eat the food that we bring to the council chairs, so we need to make sure that we eat the food if we're going to bring the food. But it's more about how to access that, and you know, sometimes people don't know how to ask for the help or don't know the help's there. So they may feel more comfortable to go to another parent. Chances are the teacher may know, the principal may find out through the teacher, but you as parents actually have the greatest impact if a parent comes to you, right? As representative as Catholic School Council or even as CPIC, how can you help?
Like the demographic, basically.
I think we just need to be aware. I think there's people in need all around us, and it was important. We're a Catholic school system. We need to be taking care of all of our families, and just I think we need to get the information out that we have these programs and we can access them to let parents know.
So maybe there's something in the activity to draw that out, right?
Mm-hmm. And we did land on it in person at Corpus Christi, correct? And that's confirmed, our location, with a backup plan to go virtual should the weather not cooperate. Okay, so are we good with Council of Chairs? We'll work on an activity, we'll bring it back to the group, but otherwise we're good to go? Okay. All right, moving on to 6.2, which is VI 84, Catholic School Councils and Catholic Parent Involvement Committee. Nancy, I think you wanted to speak to this?
So we're bringing this up so it's not aligned to when the policy goes into the policy committee, okay? And that's because the policy came out of the cycle because it took a little bit longer the last time that policy got reviewed. But the procedure, because of the fact that we're changing the makeup of CPIC. So right now we have 3 Burlington, 3 Oakville, 3 North Halton, 1 at large. Jerry is our at-large member. But now that St. Kateri is an open school, we're going to have 3 in Milton, 1 in North Halton. There won't be an at-large representative, okay? What we talked about when we said we were going to do this, because what would happen if, for example, right now we don't have anybody on CPIC, we haven't had somebody on CPIC for a while from North Halton. So does that go to an at-large person so that we still have a makeup of 10? So that's the piece we need to decide as CPIC, so that I'm bringing it back to the procedure when we're doing it through policy committee. So what are your thoughts? And that's why I had it on here, because I wasn't sure if you thought that.
Right. No, it's a valid point. So I believe again, we need to have a discussion on election process, and perhaps as part of that discussion, we can also brainstorm on this too, to see what how can that be written in to the bylaws to accommodate for that possibility. So in the last couple of elections, have we not had North Halton candidates come forward at all?
Becca's North Halton? Okay, so we're
Yeah.
good there. But how do you want that to go, Jerry? So should we just leave it that way? It's going to be 1, 3, 3, 3, and we make it that way. But what happens if, for example, we didn't get a representative from North Halton? Do we leave it as a 9-person CPIC committee, or?
You could ask the same question if only 2 people from Oakville apply and there's 3 seats. I feel like that should probably be in the event that there are not enough applicants for the number of open seats. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it will require more discussion, but surely we can write something in that allows for that possibility in any part of the region, right? I wouldn't say just for North Halton, because you're right.
I think it can be written to cover all
exactly.
4, because it would be, presumably it would be the same.
Yeah, maybe the
process.
procedure is something along the lines of, in the event that there is not a representative from the specific region, that position can be filled as an at-large position for that term, something like that. I would envision. Yeah, I mean, the likelihood of it happening, I don't think it's very good. We've been blessed for years now with lots of interest all over.
I can see it being a risk for North Halton just because it's that much smaller. I don't see it being a risk for the others. Although, I think, was it 2 years ago for North Halton? I think we only had 5 applicants for 3 seats. So maybe not that surprising.
But now that we're only looking for 1 from North Halton per se, and 3 from Milton. I don't think we'll have a problem for Milton. No, gotcha. Yeah, I'm just thinking 1 should be able to fill 1. I would think. But yeah, let's put language in because
in the bylaws, and we'll work the procedure to just amend it to say 3, 3, 3, and 1.
Yeah.
I have a question. Oh.
And that will align to what you're going to do.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
With the CPIC committee reps, is there still going to be a community rep? Okay. Is there any plans or discussions around having 2 community reps that represent different groups, or are we still going to keep it?
We do have 3 communities. You have the OAPs, because you're going to have, according to the regulation, you have 3. So we have OAPs rep, that's 1 position. Father is the other, okay, from the deanery, and then community rep is you.
Okay.
So those are the 3 positions.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Moving right along. Item number 7 is other business or future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they want to discuss now or bring forward at another meeting?
I don't have anything new to discuss. I just was thinking I could add to that. The committee stuff was, we could just do maybe I want to say a better job, but you could do more like active kind of recruitment to fill the positions. If there's ever a time that, you feel like your applicants are lacking, there's a lot of good people on our parent councils, and kind of recruiting from those members would be a good idea, or putting that out at Council of Chairs saying, if you want to join on CPIC, this is how you go about it. Just having a brief kind of conversation or just introduction to that kind of process. You may not run into those issues where you're not going to have, a representative.
You make a good point, Emily, in general about marketing CPIC. And I think even with our application process, I think there's some room there to change things up. I know we made some changes this year, but I still think that people coming really don't have a clear understanding of what happens at this table. And I don't know if we need an open house where we invite people, we let them know, you can come to the gallery, you can witness a meeting, information session held before you submit your bio or you think about applying. I think there's room there to maybe change things up a bit. But I agree. I don't think we do a fantastic job. I think there's some room there to maybe market ourselves better in terms of recruiting people.
Is there any chance that we could add like a 5 or 10 minute slot into the February Council of Chairs to talk to them about it and say like, we're going to be opening up nominations in April or whatever we're going to do. Here's a little bit about CPIC. We're going here's the seats that are going to be open. Then just talk a little bit more and then say to them, like, go back to your councils. And I think one of the things we talked about, and we'll go through with bylaws and all that as well, was like having some requirement for somebody to actually have served on their council 1 year in the last 5 or something along those lines, just so that people are coming in and kind of have been there a little bit, who understand it a little bit better. But then if we say to them at council chairs, like, this is the thing, bring it back to your members as well. If you have members who are interested, then maybe, we'll do a little open house before nominations open or something like that.
No, I think that's a great idea, and I think we need to bring that to them at the February meeting because we don't have a March meeting, right? We don't have a March meeting. There's not another council chair, so, and then the elections are at the end of March. So we need to let them know at that point in time, the positions that are going to be available, and that's maybe could be the starting point.
Perfect. Can you make a note of that, Lauren, so that we remember to do that? Thank you.
And then we should do that communication through social.
Yeah, we could use socials for sure.
I would say in my experience of kind of being interested, but then exactly as you said, not getting any exposure, the principals should be talking about it at some kind of a parent council meeting. I think when it comes from the administrative side and you feel there's support, I think you're going to get more interest right away because some principals are really into it. It's like a privilege for, a community member in their school to be there. And then there are some that are just like, it's just more meetings, So I think when they're really supportive of it, I think you're going to get more interest within your schools. The second thing is, I recall when you show interest, there would be the meeting sort of after you put your name forward. It was always kind of strange and very easy to miss. Mind you, it was like pandemic times. So I think something kind of like rejigging the dates of all that. And then there's that mandatory meeting that you have to attend. And then there's like a makeup meeting. People don't know these things up front.
Yeah, so one thing we said that we were looking at changing, and again, we have to kind of discuss it as a group, but just from Janelle and I spitballing about it, we said one thing we would change is that you do the info session first, and then following the info session, then you have a week or whatever to put your bio in. And previously it's been done the other way, which actually is a little backwards, because then people put in bios where they don't realize that this is what is going out to the councils, or they write stuff that's like not at all CPIC's purview, and then it goes to the council and it's kind of accidentally misleading. So just doing the info session first, so that when people write their bios, they actually write something that's a little bit more, I don't know, accurate, on point. Thank you. So that was one change we talked about making. Come to the info session if you're interested in participating. Then you sign that form that says, yes, I understand the time commitment. I understand the requirements. And now I'm going to go write my bio, and it's due in a week.
Emily?
Just one thing, well, two things. We need to change the language from nomination to application because it's confusing. And then you're getting random people nominating you and you don't even know what it's about. So that's a major just miscommunication on that. And I know you had mentioned that you said you want people to have served 1 year or whatever. And I don't know if that's the right thing to do because I think you're missing out on a lot of parents that are either new to the board or new, like have kids in JK. Because those are the ones like me will stay for 14 years. So I don't think you should put, I mean, it's great to have somebody that has council experience, but it's also, an opportunity for, to kind of groom a really good council member too, right? So maybe not having that requirement might be. I see the benefit, but I also see that it can maybe stop people from applying.
I would tend to agree. I mean, I think as part of that information session, especially if we're doing it ahead of time before nominations, that's the opportunity to express that having experience on your school council is an asset, right? It's not a requirement, that we do need to be careful. This is an election process. It is not an application. It is not getting vetted by anyone other than make sure it's appropriate before it goes out. So there's not a hiring committee, right? So this is an election process. So it needs to be open as it can be. So just let's be careful how we engineer it or over-engineer it.
Just like how it's in the corporate world, it would just be listed as nice to have.
Yeah, it's an asset, but not required.
Just a to, excuse me, it wouldn't hurt to kind of get the ball rolling in February. It doesn't have to be in drop dead dates, but at least it's on everyone's radar. So if they were thinking of it, and also it can be to the individual school councils as well, kind of like agenda item on their side. So principals and the chairs can bring it out, can kind of also use the group chats now to kind of beat the drum there as well.
It's a good point, Angelo. I think that there's nothing stopping us from carving out those dates, right? Like, could we not say tentatively working backwards, if this is when they're going to be voted on, then this is when they need to be in. So this is when our info session needs to be in. We could probably share that information at Council of Chairs if we could just take a few minutes and plot those dates out on a calendar. And then everyone has the information. And from this point forward, we sort of market it.
So, yeah, we'll just need to make sure that what we're doing aligns to our bylaws.
Yeah.
Because there are, kind of milestones and we try to keep it flexible.
Yeah.
It's not rigid with the dates and that, but just make sure that, and then to that point, I know we need to have a discussion around rewriting the election process anyway. So sooner we can do that. Then,
yeah.
And before we know it, it'll be council chairs. And
yeah, let's set something up, Jerry, and we'll get that happening. Ada, I know you wanted to say something.
I kind of say what was on my mind, but I was thinking when we got elected, I thought we could attend their meetings on the, the Council of Chairs, not Council of Chairs, the school meetings, at least once a year as a CPIC member. Like, let's say, for example, if I'm representing Milton, I could attend a meeting and answer any questions that they may have for us.
Are you talking about a CPIC meeting or Council of Chairs?
Not Council of Chairs, the school council meetings. I know we now have the WhatsApp, which kind of helps us out, but in my head before, I thought maybe once in a while we should,
us physically go out and attend
some, so that they can know, because they don't know as much. Like, I didn't know a lot, and I didn't know anyone in my school then that was a CPIC member. I only had one that Marvin was there. Marvin, you told us a little bit when you came to years back. So things like that. Like, we didn't know, like, if we want to know more, you can attend a physical meeting. Is it possible? Is it something that we could do?
All school council meetings are open meetings. They are open to the community. So you may absolutely attend a school council meeting. I mean, give the chairs and the principal a heads up that you're coming, and if they would like, to give you a few minutes just to touch on see what CPIC's all about, even better, right? So for sure, that's part of what we should be doing as CPIC members, is getting out into the community and attending, our own school for a start if you're not on the council already, but as well as neighboring schools.
Just kind of like a script, so that we all say the same message.
What I would just caution is if the Catholic School Council meeting. So if they invite you in because they want to know more about CPIC and what CPIC is doing, or they want your support because you are an experienced member of the Catholic School Council and now a member of CPIC. So you can go and insert yourself into their meeting, but remember, it's their agenda and you should not be called on unless they have a question directed to you. But you can't tell them. You shouldn't be telling them.
So Nancy,
right?
Historically, do administrators, like principals, vice principals, are they aware, or chairs and co-chairs for that matter, do they know that they can invite us or they could reach out if they want our assistance? Like, is that, I guess, this is like what, my third, fourth year? We haven't ever been asked to go. So I guess the question is, are they aware that we would come and be of help or give them information or whatever?
What I could say has happened. So first of all, the principals are always coming through me. If there's a situation or even like chairs coming through my office, usually there's a conflict of some sort, right? So myself, CPIC members have come with me, so we can. But the fact that I think you've already been sort of organized to say, these are the Oakville ones and these are your schools. These are the Milton ones, these are your schools. That's maybe a good gesture on your part as a CPIC member to think about that. Maybe that's something we plan come the spring to say, who are the representatives for Milton? These are your schools. What's your plan to support those Catholic school councils? Will you go out in the fall to those council meetings? What I would say though, as a group, you have a lot of meetings. We do a lot of meetings, right? Far above what the regulation requires, okay? Just the Halton Catholic way that we do things here. And then with all the council of chairs and then all the parent engagement sessions we do. So it's about what's your time commitment to then go and be at councils as well.
But I also think, Nancy, that I would rather go when it's not a contentious, a problematic situation where it's just a, hey, how are we doing? How can we maybe help you? As opposed to, we're here to fix what's broken or help fix what's broken.
But we also have to respect that if they're running and it's running well, they don't need us. They don't need us,
I think,
right?
but this is more really about promoting CPIC and awareness and like we say, marketing to recruit good people to come and be nominated for this committee. So on that vein, don't wait for an invitation. It's not going to come. But if we reach out to them, say, hey, I'd love to do this for your council.
Where do we fit on your agenda?
Yeah, would you spare me 5 minutes on your agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and literally go do your 5 minutes and leave, or stay, right? So just something to think about.
For sure.
I agree. You don't want to just all of a sudden appear and impose yourself. You can't do that.
Emily, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just think that our opportunity to communicate that is more through that council of chairs. So I think we should utilize that because, I mean, even at our last council of chairs, like I had said before that I had people come up to me and be like, this was the best thing and this was so fun. And I think we have a lot more of engagement in that sense. So kind of just piggybacking on that.
So maybe at our February Council of Chairs, when we talk about the idea of elections are coming up, put the bug in their ear, throw them the dates, and then just say, if you would like us to come to a council meeting and chat about CPIC so that your members who are maybe thinking about running want to bounce some questions, want to learn more, and maybe that's the avenue that we take in terms of offering to go out and chat with them when it's convenient for them at their next
And maybe
meeting.
add it to the Let's Connect session.
Yeah, we could actually throw it in there as well, for sure.
And then I just wanted to add, I also think as I've thought about it a bit more, we are including all council members, not just information going to chairs, co-chairs, vice chairs, which is huge this year. So that should change things as the years go by. But I know for myself being on council, I put CPIC rep on the agenda and I asked for that to be standing. So that's something every person here could be doing. So you'll be kind of generating that meeting by meeting and with parents that come visit. So yeah, I think it also hinges, I guess before I said, the principal can talk about it, but really the co-chairs and the chairs that should be part of it, that they're always talking about the next level as well. And they're encouraging and just mentoring others, right? And then I personally value democratic process. Parents have a choice. They have to put their hand up. They have to, read the emails, fill out the nomination form. I think when we're cherry picking, then that can get kind of tricky. It's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Anything else we want to discuss before we close? Okay. Remind me, when do we meet again, Nancy? Before Council of Chairs? February? Andrea, do you have the date handy? Yeah. Council of Chairs is the 19th. The 10th. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. I will pass it over to Barb for our closing prayer.
Thank you, Janelle. Okay, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, we thank you for the gift of love that you have poured onto us in Jesus, your Son. Help us to grow each day as his followers with great love for one another and great love for our families. May our growing love and kindness be a sign of your love at work in our lives. We make this prayer to you in Jesus' name, and may Almighty God bless us. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.